In this video, we will continue to look into the product service, and we are at the moment looking into the product controller. Stay tuned. This one was experimental. In the near future, I might create a service of its own, a microservice of its own for the admin, basically for any administration stuff. I haven't thought about it yet, what the admin needs to do, but obviously the administrator, which will be the admin user, needs to be something or someone who has a higher authority, right, on the system. So I will think about what they have to do in the near future, but the role is there, but the service is not quite here yet. We will sort it out soon. But it's not very important at the moment for me. It will be some time before I even look into it, right? The first one we're gonna take a look at is product control. So in the product controller, because I want to use log, I'm using at SL4J, F4J, and that allows you to log, use something like that to log stuff to your I don't know, your code. This, I've commented out a lot of stuff, right? But I did mention that I am deriving something from somewhere, and this is what's happening here, and I will go into a lot more depth when I go into the gateway security configuration. So for this endpoint, obviously I'm using cross origin because that's the only way I was able to get one of the endpoints, which is the get all products running on the other side, on the Angular. But I will experiment later and see if the solutions have come together right now. I don't need this or what. Yeah, it's a REST mapping. We are adding the REST mapping tag, and the way that I am designing it, I've got API / version 1, that's v1 / products. I'm naming all my API main API as with Pro, using Pro, and I think it made it easier. So either you use single or Pro, but for some reason I just did it like that for now. It doesn't really matter what you do, but I'm just doing like that. I'm using at required odd constructors because then I don't need to put any constructors here. It's done automatically by Lightbrook. So we are injecting the product service here because we are making a reference to it. Now I always or mostly try to create something like this. So it gets mapping and it just returns okay, and then it prints this message. And the way that I do that is debugging. So if I'm running something a lot more complicated like the create and it's not working, I do a quick test with this one, and then it tells me something is working, and then I know that the API is fine, right? And then I have to dig deeper and see why and what is causing the error. So I always do something like this, which is normal. It doesn't do anything, right, apart from just call it. Yeah. So the create product endpoint is a post mapping endpoint, and the create endpoint is using product response. What is the product response? We take a look at in a minute. We want the response to be returning to look like this, to have the details in this particular record. Yeah, so it's a record, and we take a look at it. The parameters we need to create a product is we are dragging down this request header. We need the username in order to create a product, so we drag it down, and I will show you how I'm doing this later when we get to the gateway. When we get to the gateway, I will go back to each services and show you how I'm dragging a whole lot of details from the gateway in order to use it, in order to avoid adding security on the other services downstream. Okay, we need the username parameter, and then we need the body. That's the product request body. Let's take a look at the product request body, which is in the DTO, and the product request body is this one. Sorry, product request body is this one, and the product request body basically is a record, and this is that kind of stuff that the product request body has. We don't need the username, but I can blank it off. We don't need it because we already have that username here, but I'll come back to that later. I'm not gonna touch it. Just know that I will take it off in the near future. We need the product name when we are sending it, the brand name, description, starting price, buy now price, and all the other stuff that we need in the modules. This is what we are asking for. I want us to take it, run it, even though we haven't taken a look at the others, just for us to take a look at a few endpoints. Okay, so I'm gonna run this service now, and if it does work, I also need the gateway to run in order to show you the test. Okay, so before I run the service and run the gateway, I'm not going to show you what the gateway looks like at the moment. I'm just going to run the service and the gateway so we can run the Postman test, because my approach is to make sure that I run the tests as we go along. Not all of them, but some of them, the most important ones. Let's take a look at this in the service then. So we require the username and the product request, and then we want a response as that. And when we get the product request, we take the category ID from the product request, and then we store it here, and we check category repository. Obviously, if category is in the same service here, so it's quite simple, right? If it's not found, we return and say, hey, it's not there. We need to make sure category is there in order to create a product, because each product needs to have its own category. Yeah, well, you can use other category. Okay, it needs a category. Basically, we are logging here. We say the reason why I'm logging this one here, which is username passed downstream to the create product service, is because when I'm debugging, I need to know that this username is being passed down from the gateway. I'll show you what it is. This way you don't need to, you see how you need oath, you need your token in order to run all these things, in order to create some of these or access these endpoints and use the endpoints. Because of that, we don't want security, right, in the other service. We want security only in the gateway service, and this is the solution I come out with, which if we go to the gateway, we will talk about it a bit more. I keep on repeating myself, don't I? So this is how I'm returning the request, so I'm using the products. I'm using product entity or module, and I'm taking all these stuff in. This is not the request, sorry. This is how I'm creating the product, the new product. I'm dragging whatever request I have here, and I'm storing into product, the entity product, and because that's what that product entity is for, or product module is for. and then we're saying that product repository save this product. So we save everything here, we build it up all together and put it into product, and then we then save that object. We use the repository to save that object. What is the repository for, which I didn't go into? This is the our return. The response is our return. So once we create a product, this is what we will look at, or this is how it returns, the look that it returns. And this is the reasons why we have DTOs, is because we can use the DTO to insert data, and we can use the DTO to retrieve data. If you want to use just the object to do, you have a bit of problems. It's not very flexible. The DTO makes it a lot more easier to interact with the system and stuff like that. So we want to take a look at the repository, because we and I have it in because we are making a reference to it here, and I have it here. So we want to just take a look at the product repository, and in the product repository you need to make sure that you are using the repository tag, because that tells you what this class is or interface is. And it's an interface. It's good to stick to the conventions. So like you say product, you've got product module, like product, and then you say repository after that. It's good to stick to those kind of conventions, naming convention. And we are sending the JPA repository product. So this is the only way you kind of like interact with the database. So if you want to retrieve something from the database, this is how Spring Boot has made it so easy. You don't need to write your own business logic. That's the beauty of Spring Boot. It uses the repository to do all the work for you. You just tell it what to do, and most of the method and their functionalities are all there written for you. For example, if you wanted to get some or retrieve something, or you see how the get or product is not here because it's automatically written in for us. So the only ones you will specify here under the interface, the only method you will specify is the ones that you are customly writing. Like in terms of custom method, I'm saying find all by product ID in. So this particular method is not written in JPA automatically. This is my own custom writing. Find by username, it's not there, so I'm writing it myself. So these are the kind of stuff that you want to write it in there, but you only get to do that, and it's easier because it will make the suggestion for you. If you write something that isn't there, it will say, hey, do create this in the interface, and you just click yes, and it creates it in the interface for you automatically. So it's not that hard, unless if you know what you're doing, then it's not that hard at all. Alright guys, so at this point I've got to end the video here. We will continue from where we left it, and in the next part. I would really appreciate it if you like my videos, or comment, or tell me if I'm doing something wrong here, and I will really appreciate that. Okay, thank you for coming back to my channel. Have a good day.